Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Tania Fernandez Anderson, City Councilor for District 7. I am the chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. I am joined by my colleagues, Councilor President Flynn, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Louis-Jean, Councilor Flaherty, Councilor Bach. Just a fair warning, Councilor Louis-Jean has asked my council colleagues courtesy to allow her to go first. She has a pre-engagement that she has to leave in just a few minutes. I hope you can allow me to do that. This hearing is being recorded. It is being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, Fios Channel 964. Written comments may be sent to the committee email at ccc.wm@boston.gov and will be made a part of the record and available to all councilors. Public testimony will be taken at the end of this hearing. If you wish to sign up for public testimony here in the chamber, please sign in on the sheet near the door. If you are looking to testify visually, please email Shane Pack at shane.pack@boston.gov for the link, and your name will be added to the list. Today's hearing is on docket 0111, message and order for your approval, an order authorizing the City of Boston to appropriate an amount of $21,600,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of a design and construction associated with boiler, windows, and door replacement projects at the following schools: Boston Day and Evening Academy, Henderson Upper School, Rafael Hernandez School, and William E. Russell School. Expected speakers today from the administration will be Sam DePina, Boston Public Schools Superintendent of Operations, Brian McLaughlin, PFD Senior Project Manager, Helen Gezenek, PFD Project Manager, Marquise Mecca, PFD Assistant Director of Construction. For the sake of our agenda today, I will hear from the administration in your presentation. I thought that we were missing a few people today, and concerned that Alvarez? She's Indira? Oh, Indira, not India? Indira.
Her name is Indy Alvarez.
Chief of Ops, where is she?
She's at a retreat with our operations division, so I'm here representing the team.
Oh, and what about Kayla Jackson, Director of Capital Planning?
She's part of that same retreat, and I'm here representing the
A
team.
retreat, fantastic, okay. Tell them I missed them today.
I will.
Thank you. So you'll have a good 10 minutes for presentation, 15 if you need it. And then I'll go straight to my council colleagues for questioning first, and then my questions, and if we need a second round, we will. If not, we'll wrap it up. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members of the City Council. Today's hearing is a request for an appropriation vote of $21,600,000 to support construction of repair projects to the BDEA, Rafael Hernandez, Russell Elementary School, Henderson Upper School, related to the 2021 Massachusetts School Building Authority Accelerator Repair Program. The Massachusetts School Building Authority is the state authority that oversees the funding of public school capital projects throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The MSBA is a reimbursement agency and works with local communities to create affordable, sustainable, and energy-efficient schools across Massachusetts, and it's funded through 1 penny of the sales tax. The MSBA has 2 programs. The core program, which focuses on large construction projects. Examples of that would be the Dearborn STEM Academy, Boston Arts Academy, Carter School, Josiah Quincy Upper School. And the second program is the Accelerator Repair Program. The Accelerator Repair Program is designated for facilities in which the scope of a potential project is limited to the replacement or repair of boilers, windows, and roofs. These repair projects are designed to materially extend the useful life of a building that's otherwise capable of supporting the educational program. The ARP focuses on the preservation of existing assets by performing energy-efficient and cost-saving upgrades, which will result in direct operational savings to the district. To be eligible for the accelerated repair program, there are requirements of each of the buildings and their systems. The roofs or boilers have to be older than 25 years old. The windows have to be older than 30 years old. Project cost has to be estimated to be above $250,000. Buildings can't be overcrowded. It has to be a building that is for educational use, so it can't be an administrative building such as Campbell Resource Center or the bowling building. The next two slides provide a historical overview of the collaborative effort between the MSBA and the City of Boston. To date, the city has been approved for 36 accelerated repair program projects, 4 core program projects. The ones highlighted on this slide are the schools that were here before you today. Total cost for the 40 projects, total construction cost for the 40 projects is just under $600 million, and will be receiving upwards of $205 million in reimbursement from the MSBA for that $600 million worth of construction. The slide right here is specific, provides background on the schools that were here before you today. The process for these schools started in February of 2021. The City Council voted to support the submission of these 4 schools to the MSBA for consideration in the Accelerated Repair Program in February of 2021. MSBA invited these projects into their capital pipeline in October of 2021. Then we came before the City Council in December of 2021 and requested to appropriate $1.2 million to start the design of these projects. MSBA, at their most recent board meeting in December, approved these 4 schools with a total estimated construction cost of $22,588,546, of which the city will receive upwards of $12.7 million in reimbursement. Next step for these projects, if the appropriation is approved by the council, the consultant team will complete the design. We'll look to bid these projects in the fall of 2023 or early winter 2024, which will include notifying all relevant certified vendors on the city's equitable procurement list that these projects are out for bid, and construction is anticipated for the summer of 2024. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Alen Gaznek, who's going to speak a little more to the projects before you today.
Thank you, Brian. So here on this locus map, we see those 2 windows and door replacement projects in Roxbury and the 2 boiler replacement projects in Dorchester. Before we jump to the next slide, I just wanted to note that we do have current teams, the OPM and their advisory, and Abib Architects, as well as their consultants, who are WB/MB firms, have already been working on the design of those 4 projects for the past year. Next, thank you. So the first slide here showing Boston Day and Evening Academy. As you can see, the building has a lot of extremely large windows. Those windows were installed in the late 80s, and due to their size, they're extremely heavy, and they've had tendency, should I say, of due to their weight, caused the balancing system of those double hung windows to fail. And although Boston Public School has replaced those systems numerous times, they continue to be a significant problem and a safety hazard for the users. And next slide, please. Thank you. The Rafael and Hernandez School, also for a window and door replacement project, has exactly similar issues. On this photo here, we can see another problem, which is the seal of those double hung windows has failed, and is causing condensation between the insulated panes. So on this photo, you could see a discoloration of some panes which have been replaced, and that's also true for the previous project. On the right-hand side window, lintels have fails over windows and do require minor repairs or replacement before we can install new efficient windows. Next slide, please. So the next two projects, the Henderson Upper School, and you can please switch to the next slide as well as the Russell Elementary School, would require boiler replacement. Currently, those two boilers in each schools are respectively 43 and 44 years old and have well exceeded their useful life. At this point, there's numerous issues of corrosions, water leakage causing valves and systems to fail. So we do want to have those new boiler replacement would definitely contribute to an energy efficiency of the building, and the replacement would provide certainly a positive effects on multiple other building systems, and then improve the quality of the environment within those schools. Thank you.
This is the last slide. It concludes our presentation today. Again, requesting the City Council appropriate $21,600,000 to support the design, development, and construction for repairs to the Boston Day and Evening Academy, Henderson K-12 Upper School, Rafael Hernandez Elementary School, and Russell Elementary School. Thank you for your time, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. As mentioned, Councilor Lujan, Councilor Murphy, if it's okay with you. Councilor Lujan has to jet. Councilor Lujan, you have the floor. Thank you, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank the administration for being here. I don't have that many questions. I just want to thank you for your work. It's incredibly important that we continue to make sure that our school buildings are affirming of the dignity of all of our students, and that it looks like that from the windows, from the outside, the facade, because outside often tells you how we feel about what's happening inside. Question about, and I think I've asked this every time that we've been here, but I think it's an important question to register as the city is engaging in this conversation about the Green New Deal for public schools, and as we're making repairs, and the purpose of which is to be energy efficient. Do we pause for a moment, when we're looking at these repairs that we want to make to these schools, and think about how they align with this vision for the Green New Deal for BPS?
Yes, we're in constant communication with our colleagues at PFD and the city and our team, looking at the Green New Deal and how we implement it in schools and where we make investments. We do have to be careful because we are under obligation to utilize MSBA funds in buildings that are operable, and we plan on keeping online, and that's what we try to strive to do as much as possible. We don't typically have issues with any investments that we made, and have any problem with that, because we're real careful about, once we receive MSBA dollars, that we're spending it as we need to, and making sure that those buildings are online and operable.
So the buildings are online and operable. Does that mean that these are buildings that we aren't going to be considering down the line for major renovations for reasons that we believe like there's more energy efficient needs for the buildings? Yeah,
our plan is to keep these online, and if we have to do any additional renovation modifications, we have other dollars that we could tap into our own operating, our capital budget, and we would work collectively as a team to determine how best to spend those funds, those other funds. And so when we're thinking about the application for MSBA, if there's a school, for example, that is like there are windows that are broken or the boiler's not working, if we think that that's a school that for some reason we're going to be taking offline in the next 3 to 5 or however many years, it wouldn't be a school that we would put forward an application for repairs on the MSBA in the accelerated program. Right, but we also have contracts in place to repair and replace boilers we need to now. So if something were to happen to those type of schools, we would have a mechanism to upgrade and make those repairs. Okay, and so I think I asked you this prior to the hearing starting, but where is the process for, where are we in the repairs? Like, have they started for any of these, or? So the team has started and already been designing them, and I'll let Elena speak more to it, but we've started some of the work already with some of it.
Yes, I can speak to that. So like I said, the design has already been underway for about a year, so we are still furthering the design and getting into more details. And then Brian had mentioned the documentations would be ready for bid at the fall of
Fall
this year.
2023.
And are all the projects,
Councilor Jen, so sorry. Councilor Murphy also has somewhere to be.
Okay.
If you can wrap up your final question.
Okay. And for the work that's going to be done, is it all going to be done in-house, or is it work that we contract out?
So we as part of this process, the MSBA assigns the consultant team of the owner's project manager and the architect. We've been working with them since early 2021 to start the design. There's a little more design work needed. Then we'll put these projects out to bid in the fall of, hopefully fall 2023, early winter 2024. We'll put those out for a public bid and follow any of the public bid laws as
Okay.
a part of that process.
Is there something? No? Okay. Well, thank you. I don't want to take up any more time. I think it's incredibly important, as I said earlier, that we do this upgrade work. Also hope that when we are contracting out and for this work, that we think about, even if the Boston residence job policy isn't applicable in this situation, that we think about making sure that these jobs, we're doing our best to make sure that people of color, women, and our Boston residents are really centered in this work. So I want to thank you. Also want to thank a delegation here that's here with World Boston International Visitor Leadership Program. It's the reason why I'll have to leave, because I'm hosting them, but they're here from Latin America to learn about leadership styles and elected officials across the country. So welcome. Bienvenidos. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Jen. Note that if attorneys say they don't have questions, they will have 5 questions. Kidding. Bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por estar aquí. Que todo eso está en inglés, claro, pero presumo que hablan inglés. Ok. Cualquier cosa, si puedo responder cualquier pregunta, después podemos hablar. Gracias por estar aquí. For those at home, I'm speaking to the, sorry, Councilor Jen, where they're coming from again?
All from different Latin American countries, international visitor leadership program as part of World Boston.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Councilor Jen. Councilor Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you for being here. As you know, I spent 20-something years working in Boston Public School buildings, and definitely repairs are needed across the board. So it's so important that we are taking advantage of any state and federal money, that they'll pay for these much-needed repairs. So I don't have any questions other than thank you for the work you're doing to ensure that this money is being able to be spent. The only question I have is there any financial, what's the word I'm thinking of? If we end up spending money in a school that then we take offline or shuts down, do we have to pay it back? And I think of all of the windows that have gone into so many schools. I was at a high school this morning and I looked up at all the beautiful windows, and I know people get hot, but half of the windows now have been knocked out to put in the air conditioning units that are in the windows. And I'm like, did we get penalized for then taking these windows out? So do they follow up after too? Is there a timeline that they kind of keep track of the money that we have invested?
Yes, it's typically 20 years. So if we were to invest on any of the MSBA projects, if we were to negatively impact that investment, if we altered the roof or windows or the boiler itself, they would look to claw back part of the investment that they've made.
Okay.
Ideally, that won't happen. City of Boston hasn't had that happen. Other districts have. But I think working with BPS over the past several years, we've been pretty mindful of the investments that have been made in schools that will likely stay online. And just because they have received an investment from the MSBA for one of these repair projects doesn't mean it precludes them from other capital investments.
From the city, which is good. No, thank you for that. I mean, I often say too, when you're running your house, when you have to replace, the water heater, no one sees it, but there's important things that are needed to keep your house running, your school running, new tires on your car. It's not fun money to spend, but it has to be done. So Thank you for that. Thank you, Chair. No
Thank
other
you.
questions.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Counselor Flaherty, you have the floor. Oh, sorry, you know what? Counselor Flynn? Council President Flynn, you were first, weren't you?
I'm fine if Council Flaherty had to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your important work, Madam Chair, and thank you to the panel for being here, for your work as well. So I obviously support these 4 schools with this infrastructure improvement. I think it's money well spent. I know a while back, myself and Council Flaherty asked or called for federal funds to be allocated to the schools for infrastructure improvements, but including boilers, windows, roofs, ACs, air conditioning systems, HVACs. Are we using any federal funds for this type of infrastructure improvement?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe this is all city funded. With the MSBA process, we appropriate the entirety of the funds up front, and they reimburse as the project moves through the process.
Okay. So these 4 schools deserving of this funding, I certainly believe. How many other schools are there throughout BPS that are in similar situations that need drastic improvements to their HVAC, to their roof, to their windows?
Councilor, the way I would answer the question is that the MSBA has set forth a new set of criteria by which we can apply for these funds. And what we've done is mapped out our buildings to determine which schools meet the criteria and not to put in those applications. So we do have a list that we have compiled that lets us track which schools are eligible to apply. I don't have that list here, but we can probably provide that.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that specific question is I want to know what schools are in similar situations where students are learning and teachers are teaching, maybe not in the ideal environment. I want to know what schools those are, and are we able to address it? We have a budget process coming up. Are there students studying and learning and teachers teaching in certain schools that desperately need a heating system?
Can I
Yeah, of
answer
course,
that,
of course,
Councilor?
yeah.
In collaboration with the BPS colleagues, as part of the Green New Deal, a consultant team has been visiting every school in the district to identify all the educational spaces within those, within the buildings, identifying spaces that may have been turned into educational space because they don't have the appropriate learning environment. It's also taking into account whether they have adequate heating distribution and other facility-related issues as part of this study. So I think when that study is complete, a lot of what you're requesting will be in a document that you can review.
And I would also add to that if there is a situation where a heating system or AC system is offline or damaged or needs to be repaired, we do have contracts in place to make those immediate repairs so no one's left without heat. There is appropriate ventilation in the buildings.
Okay. Let me be clear. My top priority is, I'm probably repeating myself, is making sure kids that are in the school buildings are learning and studying in buildings that provide adequate AC, that provide heating, that the roofs don't leak on top of them when they're doing their penmanship. So that's my priority. If there are schools that are in that situation, we need to know about it. I think that's a fair request. I certainly want to know about it. I think my colleagues want to know about it, because the reason we want to know about it is we're going into the budget process. And it doesn't matter what school it is. I think all of us want them, including yourself, we want them fixed. And it's our job to work with the administration to get the money so that these buildings are in good shape for our students. So don't be shy during the budget season coming to us and say, here's a list of 70 schools that need funding. In the city council, you need to fund this, because there's kids learning in Roxbury and Charlestown and East Boston and Hyde Park and the south end that need to learn in a good school building. So those are my comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Flynn. Councilor Flaherty?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair. We're in this predicament because a couple elected administrations ago, we didn't throw a shoulder into this issue. Dilapidated buildings, heating and cooling issues, leaks, windows, masonry work. Some schools didn't even have clean, safe running water. So we didn't take advantage of the school building assistance program. Unfortunately, again, 2 elected administrations ago chose not to build dozens of new schools. We did 3. We did Orchard Garden, K-8. We did Lila Frederick Pilot Middle, and we did Mildred Ave, K-8. Totally squandered a tremendous opportunity. I think it was 90 cents on the dollar reimbursement at the time. So as a result of which we're in this situation where we've got buildings in horrendous condition, and we're trying to make upgrades. My questions will come from, and I always pride myself in the fact that we're a representative government and that we work for the people we represent. I work for folks across the city, and I received a request today from a constituent asking me to ask his questions on behalf of his group, and so if I may ask the chair's indulgence, I'll do that. They're urging BPS to resolve problems of excessive heat and cold in the classrooms by installing modern ventilation systems, heating and cooling systems. They're suggesting that Docket 0111 would authorize boiler, windows, and door replacement projects at Boston Day and Evening Academy, Henderson Upper, Rafael Henderson, and the William Russell. Their concerns is that there's 2 major problems with that proposal. The first is that PPS should not be installing new boilers in any school. They're saying that the mayor will soon issue an executive order requiring all major school renovations to eliminate fossil fuels. Therefore, those new boilers will have to be replaced, and you'd have to rip up the school once again, costing taxpayers more money, meanwhile saddling students and neighbors with the polluting, inefficient heating system. They're suggesting that the BPS go back to the drawing board and consider installing all electric heat pumps, which cool, dehumidify, and circulate air, as well as heating it. Again, putting in what is suggested antiquated systems given the new orders coming out of the mayor's office. Second, any school that's getting major renovations should be installing modern ventilation systems that provide clean, fresh air in a better learning environment. They're suggesting that at least 2 of those schools urgently need upgrades. The Henderson Upper, which does 1.1 to 12.8 air changes per hour as of November 20th, which 6 or 7 air changes per hour is the healthy norm. The school also had temperatures above 84 degrees in several classrooms on several days, last checked on January 27th, 2023. Very hard on the teachers and students, more so in an inclusion school with special ed students. They also suggest that the Russell Elementary had 0 to 1.6 air changes per hour, which is abysmal. That's at failure. One room had CO2 levels over 4,000 parts per million. That means air contains very high levels of multiple pollutants. BPS admits that 2,000 ppms is even high. They're suggesting that the Ways and Means Committee not approve the 21 million order until these questions are answered. And I think they plan to maybe offer some additional testimony online. So those are obviously some legitimate questions and points that they're suggesting. So I guess we'll just start with those 2 fronts. I mean, the fact that we're going to be installing boilers, I believe, I think we were all at the same State of the City speech where the mayor basically said she's going to be making an announcement real soon with respect to new construction and renovation and fossil fuels. So how is what we're suggesting and looking and asking the council for today square up with her most recent announcement? And shouldn't we be anticipating that and installing what these constituents and their parents, frankly, their parents at the various schools that have serious concerns with this docket? So as their elected representative, I'm advocating on their behalf, and quite frankly, I read this and I said, wow, you get some great points. If we're going to be installing these boilers only to have to rip them out of the schools in a year or 2, I guess what's the question? I guess why would we be doing that? That's my question. And then follow through on these, on the PPMs in some of these schools with the air quality changes. And I think the need to dive into those more important issues, particularly at the Henderson and at the Russell. So thank you, Madam Chair. I'll leave that to you folks. So can someone answer that question as to why would we be installing boilers only to have to rip them out once Mayor Wu's initiative takes effect?
I can speak to the boiler question. The boilers that are before you today, the project again started over a year ago through design prior to the mayor's announcement at State of the City. If we were to pause this, we would lose funding from the MSBA. The concern with that is the time it's going to take to appropriately address issues at these schools to support electrical boiler systems, because it's not just the boiler that would need to be upgraded in these schools and other schools. It would be a complete infrastructure overhaul to support electrical boilers, including some of these schools the electrical infrastructure may not be able to support electrical boilers at this time. So it would be a much larger project that the MSBA would not participate in, and include updating all the HVAC equipment throughout the building, upgrading the electrical system, inclusive of the boiler. So if we don't move forward with this, it is a valid point. I don't want to undermine what the constituents are saying, but we have boilers in these schools that have reached the end of the useful life, continually need maintenance, and we have the opportunity to replace them with energy efficient systems that are much better than what are in place now. The concern I have is the time it's going to take to be able to bring an electric boiler system to these schools once the Green New Deal plan is in place and moving forward with the projects that come out of that.
So it's so it'll be like grandfathered, or it'll be an exception to this program moving forward, and then is it precedent setting for folks in the private sector, other institutions that are looking to renovate and build and say, whoa, wait a second, time out a minute. I know we're supposed to do this, but BPS, they did it.
Right, and
so why shouldn't we?
I mean, these projects have been in play for over a year with design, right? Construction hasn't started, so if we have to pause, we will risk losing funding from the MSBA.
And of the 21 million, of the 21 million, how much of that's coming from the MSBA? Is all of it coming?
$12.7 million of reimbursement for these projects.
And then so we'll be investing that, and then if we're sort of going to do it the old school way, right, which is bring in the old style, old school, but more efficient boilers, right?
Yeah, we
What's the lifespan on those?
at least 30 years.
So technically, those schools that are getting these won't get the electric ones for 30 years.
We may, I can't speak that right now. We'd have to see what comes out of the Green New Deal plan.
Right. I mean, arguably, it's not our money, but you never want to waste money, right? If we have the ability to redirect that 12.7 to somewhere else, I would be suggesting that. But again, I don't envy the position you're in. All the data, all the stuff you've done is taken place over the last year or two, and all of a sudden we're sitting in our chairs and we hear this announcement.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, what does that mean? And the conundrum, frankly, the conundrum that BPS is in with respect to this docket is the conundrum that people are in across the city. Real estate folks, developers, investors, everybody's like, what does this mean? How is this going to impact Boston's economy, the ability to get a shovel on the ground, the ability to put together a pro forma, the ability to encourage investment. I just learned the other day that Boston is now off the institutional investment list. I can't even tell you the last time that has been the case. It hasn't been 20 years. There's a lot of folks, partly driven by the economy, but also partly driven by some of these issues that are of great concern to folks, and the cost associated with them, and whether or not they're practical and realistic, despite all the best intentions. And all of us having a responsibility, want to leave our city and our country and our world and our air in a better place than we found it, you know? So I get the conundrum, but I just want to make sure that if we're going to talk the talk, as a city, we need to walk the walk, and we might have to pump the brakes and walk away from $12.7 million if it doesn't fit into the program, because it's going to be the argument that everyone else makes across the city.
Right, and we were just approved in December for the next round of ARP projects, 3 of which are boilers, which, based upon the information that was relayed to State City, is going to weigh heavily on the design of those projects. Luckily enough, we're just starting that process, so we will have a better understanding of how this will play into the discussion on what the solution will be at those schools, because the MSBA is looking for the most cost-effective, educationally appropriate solution, and full electric systems
Thanks,
are
Brian.
expensive on their end, and they may not participate.
And I thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the work you do. I understand the conundrum. Just want to raise that issue on behalf of parents and students.
Thank you, Councilor Flaherty.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Bach, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the presenters. I remember the hearing where we originally authorized this, and obviously, I think like once we get this far down the road with the MSBA, we really want to keep maintaining the pipeline where they fund 3 to 4 of our schools on this front a year. So I'm definitely, I can just say up front, going to be in favor of authorizing this when we vote on it. But I think that the question Councilor Flaherty is raising is important. I think that with these projects, we're always concerned about, and Councilor Murphy touched on it too, the issue of like when we make this investment, making sure that we're not going to have to pay the MSBA back. In, you know, whether it's for something like taking out the boilers early, or, you know, in the case of windows and roofs, if we were to put a building towards a non-educational purpose. So, you know, I think that when I do remember we asked about this with these schools back when we originally authorized them, but can you guys just confirm that we think that these are all schools that we expect to basically like remain in the BPS portfolio? Like we don't have I know that we're not done with all the planning processes that are going on, but since there is a substantial amount of our money that goes into these projects, that's what you guys are asking us to appropriate, that you like continue to feel comfortable that these are like not buildings that we would be moving school functions out of in the life of the project.
Yeah, I mean, currently there are no plans to take any of these schools offline. So if there were to be conversations about impacting any of these schools, I think the gist here that we're under the obligation of is that as long as we utilize those buildings for educational space, we're still covered with regard to the MSBA. So I guess the answer is right now we don't have any plans for these schools as that planning is ongoing. However, if we did have to make any changes, we would have to utilize those buildings for educational use in order to stay compliant with MSBA.
Okay. And remind me again what's the timeline on when the planning studies that you guys are doing is going to finish versus when the next set of schools that we would put before the MSBA will be selected?
So we're still in the process of planning and doing some engagement with the community and getting some feedback around our broader studies. Those studies are due to wrap up at the end of this year, school year, and we'll make some further analysis at that point, and then into the fall as well. So we should have more information for the next round of work associated with schools and the Green New Deal sometime maybe in the fall. But that timeline could change depending on how far along we get in the studies and the analysis component that's associated with it.
But then when do you make the next set of recommendations for MSBA ARP projects?
So unfortunately, this year, the MSBA put a pause on the accelerated repair projects, so they won't be accepting applications for the accelerated repair program in 2023,
Okay.
just core program projects. And those are due mid-April. I believe April 14th is the deadline for the core program submissions.
And this
Got
gives
it.
us a chance to calibrate.
So, okay. And so do we know why they decided to stop the ARP for now?
I think there are a couple reasons. They did speak to it at their board meeting in December, but I believe a lot of they like to spread the money out as far as they can, and I think some of the projects and the construction costs most recently it's been kind of a volatile market, if you will, with everything going on. So I think they may be taking a year to kind of see if it regulates itself and come back in
Got it.
2024.
They think they're paying too much for these things right now.
Or districts are paying too much.
Right, right. We all
Yeah.
are paying too much,
Yeah.
right? But it's nice that they think that's going to reverse. Okay. So it means that the basic thrust of that is that we're actually going to have these planning documents in hand likely before we make the next round of ARP decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's great, because I do worry a little bit about this question of like our long-term plans for the schools. And then can you just speak to Carlton's not here, but every time we have this, we raise the question of kind of what BPS is doing to make sure that these go to diverse contractors, and specifically, to really help grow that pool so that we've got competitive local contractors, MBEs who can compete for these contracts on the state sort of regulatory basis. Since these are repeat projects that we're always doing, windows and roofs and boilers. Can you guys speak to work on that front?
Sure. They'll go out to bid in, again, fall 2023, winter 2024, and we do notify all relevant certified contractors that are on the city's equitable procurement list that these projects are coming out to bid.
Right, but what if anything have we done, or do you guys plan to do to kind of like expand that pool? Because I think that's been the conversation in the past, is that this feels like a place where we could grow a pipeline. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit like more straightforward for a firm to kind of like take on these types of projects than maybe being a general contractor for an entire core school project. So it just feels like but we spend significant money on them. So I don't know if there's been any progress since we last talked on that front.
I can't speak that directly. I can circle back and get you information.
So I think it would be great to know whether, I know the council appropriated funds, both through the budget and ARPA for Chief Idoi's shop to really like work on how we're growing our suppliers and like supporting, really creating ecosystems of firms. And it just feels like, again, like this is a pretty significant pot of money that would really change like the equity numbers in contracting. If we could get if we had MBE firms in Boston who could consistently do like these roof jobs, like it would really shift the numbers. So just if you guys could get back to us on how those efforts are intersecting with this problem, that would be great. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Bach. I'm very interested in Councilor Bach's last question. And if you would have to excuse me if some of these questions sort of sound similar, and if I didn't hear, just indulge me and repeat them again for me, please, the answers, I mean. And also, in the future, considering we're going into budget season, I'd like to ask that you send your presentation at least a week in advance to give the council time to review and prepare. Our questions may seem repetitive because we'll get them sort of a day or two beforehand and it's not enough time. And we're running around like a tornado, so do you have an estimate by school or a breakdown by each school of what each is going to cost? Have you presented that? I don't see it here.
We should have the breakdown by school, but we can get that to you. I don't know if you guys have it here. But.
Okay, thank you. And is it work? So I heard you say something about the Green New Deal in terms of the follow-up steps for the schools that are not going to get repairs, Sam. But can you talk about specifically how the Green New Deal is working in collaboration or affiliated with this project, if at all?
Sure. So our capital teams.
Sorry.
Let me take a step back. We're doing a really concerted effort to make sure there's alignment and coordination between Boston Public Schools, PFD, the City Budget Office, OBM, the capital planning team, and our units internally, the BPS and external, to make sure we're working in concert with each other, we're sharing information, we're having discussions, and we're collaborating on all these projects to a level that I haven't seen in a very long time. So those ongoing regular conversations that we're having amongst each other, with each other, I think is helping us make sure we're on the same page. We're not duplicative work or people are not informed of what's going on. So issues like these, as we plan, tend to surface and we troubleshoot them and put placeholders on areas where we have to circle back to make sure there are no overlapping work and or missing work. So I think in the spirit of continuing that work, it's going to continue to build and grow stronger. So we're not in a situation where we're worried about if the Green New Deal work is going to impact capital planning work and vice versa.
Okay. During the budget, last budget season, you mentioned something about a dashboard, that you were doing a study and figuring out repairs, a list of repairs that all schools needed. You would know by, I think you gave it a year. Where are we with that, and are you still using a dashboard?
Yeah, so the dashboard is up and running and live, so the people have public access to it on our site. But the study should be done at the end of this school year, not calendar year.
By fall?
By this fall, yes.
And then you mentioned something about the timeline, but is that timeline specific to this project, or what is the timeline to this project?
So there are two project timelines we're talking about. The first is with this particular set of dollars in schools to work on these 4 schools, and that's in development. So as the team alluded to earlier, we're writing the bid specifications. We'll get it out to bid hopefully by the fall of '23, and then we'll keep the work going forward. But regarding the Green New Deal planning, that's going to be ongoing, and that's going to be largely informed by the studies that we're in the process of completing now, both the pre-kindergarten to 12 study, as well as our facilities assessment, condition assessment as well.
Great. Along the lines of what Councilor Bach was saying, I just want to preface this with, if you can break down the percentage that you're going to use in design in comparison to construction, and I guess also the breakdown of if there are efforts, but also if you've already contracted or as you're contracting, if we can get a list of what are the demographics of people that you're contracting within the design team as well as the construction team. Thank you. I mean, obviously for the obvious reasons, you understand that if we know where we are today, we can compare it to yesterday, but we can compare it tomorrow and figure out are the efforts that you're going to be submitting effective, if at all. In the event that your projects end up costing less, what do you do with the money?
So, go ahead, Brian.
No. MSBA, if the projects come in under budget, we share in the savings with the MSBA.
For the people at home, can you explain again? We just heard MSBA throughout the hearing. Can you explain, please?
Sure. The MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, they oversee they're the funding agency for public construction projects within the state of Massachusetts. It's a grant program. You apply to the MSBA for repair projects and larger construction projects. They are a reimbursement agency, so the cities and districts throughout the Commonwealth appropriate the full funding for all their projects, and then as the projects move forward, districts will submit invoices to the MSBA, and they will then in return reimburse districts based upon their reimbursement rate, which is preset by the MSBA.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilor Braden. Thank you so much, Councilor Braden, for joining us. Wrapping up my questions, we'll go right to you, Councilor Braden. And I guess the opposite as well in questioning, what if you need more money? What if you're under budget?
MSBA shares in if we have cost savings, but unfortunately, if they go over budget, it's borne on the districts.
Okay. What is the process by which you decide of these specific schools? I think we talked about it a little bit last budget season, but if we can talk about it here today.
So working with BPS facilities, we identify schools that fall within the requirements of the Accelerated Repair Program, meaning their building systems are either 25 years old or older, or 30 years old for the windows, that the schools otherwise can support the educational program, making sure schools aren't overcrowded. So we work closely with the facilities team at BPS that they can identify schools that would fit well within the MSBA program.
Okay. So after the completion of the repairs for these schools, is there any interest to put the same effort and energy into other schools outside of the Green New Deal? Or say that there will be schools that are outside of these lists? What do we do about those?
So this is just the schools that, the repair work that would likely fall within the MSBA program, but there's also many other projects that PFD and BPS oversee related to repairs, renovations at schools and other city-owned buildings that are also in design, in construction right now.
Thank you. This morning, I received a letter from a concerned constituent about the work that is being proposed here. And I'd like to read it and ask you for your response. So BPS is going through a lot of infrastructural changes. Is there any way we can get insight on the organizational chart? Who's on the team from a constituent?
For the overall district or for the folks that are working in this project?
I guess for the overall district.
Yeah, the overall district is still under development and being finalized. So I know we're having discussions about how that gets released, but that's still in development. And as far as the project goes, our facilities team, our operations department, our finance department, our PANDA team, our family and community engagement division, our communications department, internally for BPS, are all working collaboratively with PFD, with the city operations division, with the city finance department, city communications, and mayor's office. So that's the cross-functional team that's working on all these projects.
Okay. Thank you. I guess a breakdown in the future when you have it?
Oh, once the org chart is finalized, I know we'll be doing some public releasing of that information and posting it online and making it available.
Who's timing me?
No, that was my parking meter. Apologies.
Thank you. Council Braden, thank you very much. Council Braden, you have the floor.
Thank you. And I apologize for my tardiness. I had a conflicting meeting, so here I am. I'm not sure if Councillor Balk has already asked this question, but are we working to identify local in the city businesses who can undertake this, especially the windows as a recurring project, predictable sort of project need going forward? Have you asked that question already? Can I check that question?
No. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I really, I think this is sort of a no-brainer when it comes to contracting and procurement questions, to make sure we are giving the work to a Boston-based, minority-owned, women-owned business. So I think that's something we should be thinking about. I'm sure you're thinking about that, of course, Brian. And then, I understand that the BPS has gone through a whole review of all the facilities and looking at the status of everything and giving us a good grade or a not so good grade and all, and then identifying potential need for. Can you possibly give me an update on where that's at and how long that might take?
Sure, that work is ongoing and it's due to be complete by the end of the school year.
So by June. Yeah, and then we'll have a complete and accurate reflection of the status of our school buildings and what we might need to improve them.
We'll have the initial assessments done, but then there'll be a period of revision, analyzing what was submitted to make sure it's what we want it to be, and then we will have something satisfactory after that.
Because I really want it to be a good assessment, because I know from past assessments that the Jackson Man was scored as fair to good, and then it closed it planned to close it the next few years. So if it's fair to good, then how bad does it have to be bad, That's the other question. I really love this program. I understand that they're not funding core projects anymore at the moment. They're putting a hold on that. But is there any delay or hold on these sort of more accelerated maintenance type projects?
We mentioned this earlier, but we do have contracts in place to work on any systems that may break down or may need some repairs along the way. So in the meantime, we'll continue to do that. And then once we have more schools that qualify under the ARP criteria, and the MSBA opens up the application process again, we will be putting forward more applications.
And does this program fund HVAC, like for AC programs?
No, it's just roof, window, and boiler systems, so the boiler work doesn't go beyond the boiler room.
Doesn't go beyond the boiler room? Because, it's going to be more of a problem with cooling than heating as we go forward with this climate change issue. It's just a question, just a thought. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Braden. I apologize that there was much more to what my constituent wanted me to read on record, so please allow me to read that. And I thought there were some good points, so I'll read them. For the record, this came from Jemison, and that's the only name I have for you. But anyway, so dear Councilor Anderson, Hernandez Anderson, I and many school parents have serious concerns about Docket 0111, which Ways and Means will review this afternoon. Would you be willing to ask City BPS staff about those concerns in today's hearings? I work on school health and safety issues with FAMCO's BPS Families for COVID Safety. And regarding today's Ways and Means Committee hearing, we are urging BPS to combat COVID, other respiratory diseases, and resolve the problems of excessive heat and cold in classrooms by installing modern ventilation systems and heating cooling systems. Docket 0111 would authorize boiler, windows, and door replacements projects at Boston Day and Evening Academy, Henderson Upper School, and the Rafael Henderson School, which my son attended, and the William E. Russell School. There are two problems with this proposal. First, BPS should not be installing new boilers in any school. The mayor will soon issue an executive order requiring all major school renovations to eliminate fossil fuels. New gas boilers will have to be replaced. They'll have to rip up the school again, cost taxpayers more money, and meanwhile saddle students and neighbors with a polluting, inefficient heating system. They should go back to the drawing board and install all electric heat pumps, which cool humidity and circulate air as well as heating it. Second, any school that's getting more renovations, 5 million average for these 4 schools, should install modern ventilation systems that provide clean air, clean fresh air, and a better learning environment. At least 2 of these schools urgently need upgrades. The Henderson Upper School, 1.1 to 12.8, air changes per hour, 1120. 6 or 7 air changes per hour is healthy. The school also had temperatures above 84 in several classrooms and on several days. 127-23, that's hard on teachers and students, more so in an inclusion school with special ed students. This sounds familiar to what Council Flaherty read, right? Okay. So in that case, I think we've heard this letter already. I don't think Council Flaherty told us exactly who sent him his letter, but for the record, I think we've addressed some of the questions. Council Bach and Council Flaherty both have posed the questions, and we're waiting some information back from the administration. And for Mr. Jemison, I'm happy to converse over a virtual meeting or in person. Please let me know if you like to do that. Councillor Bach and Councillor Braden, we're moving into public testimony. We have just one person on Zoom. And I think after that, if you guys don't have any further questions, and we're going to wrap it up. Mike Prakash, is that how you pronounce his name? Did I pronounce that correctly? Mike, are you with us? All right. Mr. Prakash, are you with us? let us know when you're able to hear us, unless you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yes, that's correct. So thank you, counselors and BPS and city staff, and thank you, Councilors Flaherty and Hernandez Anderson. I am.
Mr. Prakash, we can't hear you in the last few seconds. Try again.
I'm trying to unmute.
I think if you can come back with us, we couldn't hear you.
So I'm a BPS, the father of a BPS graduate. I live in Dorchester, and I want to thank Councilor Flaherty and Councilor Hernandez Anderson for raising issues about basically the viability of this contract. This is not about blaming the public facilities or for the school department for doing inappropriate measures. They're trying to preserve, the health and learning environment that our students are in. The problem is that we're all caught, all of us, between a fossil fuel past and a clean energy future, and there are a lot of contradictions in what we're experiencing. But they are real contradictions, and we have to deal with issues like if new boilers are being installed in 2024, they will be only about 20 years into their useful life before they have to be retired at the most to meet Boston's climate change goals, which is zero carbon emissions, zero fossil fuels by 2050. Probably they will be retired before that, and we'll have to pay the state back the money that they subsidized them with. As a taxpayer, I'm going to pay one way or the other for doing that and for the double cost of the work. The urgency, of course, is to improve the heating and cooling system in those two schools, which is failing. So what do we do? Is there a way to go back to the Mass School Building Authority and renegotiate this contract or this grant? And on the question of ventilation, which we really haven't talked about at all, which is a separate question from heating and cooling, is it possible, since extensive repairs are going to be done to the other two schools, to the doors and windows, to install modern, ventilation systems, dedicated outdoor air systems that circulate the air? The conditions in the other two schools are horrific. And, to Councilor Flynn's point about wanting to safeguard the environment for students and staff, this is a widespread problem in Boston Public Schools that can't wait for 10 or 20 years to resolve. The measures that the school department's been able to take so far don't adequately ventilate rooms. Basically, it's in the lap of public facilities and the school department to come up with solutions for these contradictions that we're facing. But it can't be kicked down the road. And if the next step is to apply for funding for 3 more boilers, that definitely should not happen. There's no excuse for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash, for your testimony. To my councilor colleagues, if you don't have any other questions, administration, any final remarks or statements?
Just to say thank you for your support and helping us move this work forward, and we look forward to the next steps.
Okay, thank you very much. Without any further ado, Mr. Prakash, I welcome you reach out to my office for any updates or conversations. This hearing is adjourned. Thank you.